Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
Mama Aiara.
and welcome to the Mastercast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, free Palestine.
Mhm, mhm.
Not too long ago, Spain, Ireland, Malta, and Slovenia agreed to take the first steps to recognize the state of Palestine. So one, this is a good step towards progress.
Yep.
Hopefully, we see other countries do this as well. I
Mhm.
know it's been like hundreds of years, but whenever, like, I don't know, seeing just the name Spain in situations like this, I'm like, oh yeah, they aren't like as bad as they once were.
Right.
Just thinking about the history of Spain.
Fine. The Inquisition. Nobody expects it.
But yeah, what media have you been consuming lately?
I've mostly been into Dungeon Meshi because season two's about to start. So I'm like, I do this thing where I read ahead a little bit in the manga, like two to five chapters ahead of where the anime is, and then wait for the anime to catch up and watch it. Um, and so because the anime is starting to catch up to where I am right now, I'm gonna start reading ahead again. But it's fun. It's a fun way to do it. Yeah. So Dungeon Meshi. Been playing Stardew Valley since the 1.6 update came out. That's been fun. And then Hoseki no Kuni ends this month, so waiting with bated breath for that.
Cool.
But it. Yep.
When I like read ahead of stuff, usually it's like if I watch something I like it a lot and I just need more, I'll read it and I'll read everything that's out and then I'll keep up with it until it ends.
Mm.
But then there are some that I'm like, I prefer to just stick to the anime with this. Like, at one point I wanted to read Spy Family, but then I started watching it and I just like, I'll just watch the show. Um,
Mm.
and same thing with Dungeon Meshi. I think I'm just going to stick with the show. There's certain things I'm just like,
Right.
I'm gonna just stick to watching it. There's some things
That's real.
that might be insane to people, but that I like just don't watch the anime for. Actually, you know what? It might not be seem so insane to people anymore because I've never seen a full episode of My Hero Academia, and that's seeming like it was a good idea because
I
the
was about to
anime
say.
apparently just has not been doing the manga justice apparently. But
Mm.
I don't watch the anime. I only read the manga, so it doesn't really affect me too much. I also have never seen an episode or a full episode of Doctor Stone. I've only read it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's interesting that to get a point in reading either manga or comics you where you have started reading a manga before it became an anime. That's always interesting
Mm.
because when we were
Yeah.
kids, of course, we just weren't that didn't happen. But as we get
Right.
older, we're reading comics the moment they start being published, and then like a year or two later when they become an anime, I was like, oh yeah, I've been reading that. But
Right. Yeah, it's like back in our day, you had to wait until the library got a copy
oh
to
yeah,
read manga.
and
Like,
it was way after it was way too late when I figured out that I could ask them to order books for me.
mm,
I figured that out way too late. Back
yeah.
when I like was close to stopping going to the library
Mm,
because I was
hmm.
reading most things digitally or buying books.
Right, right.
But yeah, I finished The Witcher: Blood of Elves. In my excitement to read some more tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, I just blazed through the last like 20 to 15% I had in that book, and the ending was probably the best part. Honestly, it focused on Yennefer training
Mm.
Ciri and developing their budding mother daughter relationship. It was really good, and I'm
Ooh.
excited to read more of it. And I'm sitting there thinking about other books I want to read because now I've learned um, after having finished that and now reading tomorrow, and I'm almost finished with it,
Mm.
that I can 100% easily breeze through novels like I do comic books if I'm really into them. Just tomorrow is so good. It's so
Sounds
good.
good.
Like I said
If you
before,
like that,
it's about.
huh?
No, I was just gonna give it a little
Oh,
surprise,
go
not
ahead, go ahead,
synopsis,
go ahead.
but like summary of like what it's about. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's about um, these two game developers who were childhood friends and their journey of of friendship and game development, and it's really good. When I heard what it was about, I was like, that just sounds like it's for me. And then I started reading it, and I was like, oh wait, this kind of seems like it's a romance story. But I'm starting to realize that it's less a romance story as much as it is just a love story, but more about friendship. It's really good.
Mm.
There's
Platonic love.
there's definitely some romance in there as well, but it's mostly about friendship. And yeah, it's so good. I last night I was reading a lot of it, and I got to a point where it was just a heartbreaking moment that
No.
destroyed my soul. I had to stop, listen to a song. I was just like, I gotta,
I
I gotta
can't
take a
do this
break.
no more.
I gotta take a break. But then
That's real.
I hopped right back into it because like, I can't stop. It's so good. It's a real good book. I highly suggest it. I forget who writes it. Let me look their name up real quick. Actually, I could just look it up on my tablet because I have the Kindle app right here.
Oh.
Um, Gabrielle Zevin. So
Ooh.
it's a really good book.
Nice. Nice.
But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, if you like that, you would probably get a lot of enjoyment out of This Is How You Lose the Time War. That book,
I've heard of it.
I've been thinking, so good. It's so good.
But yeah, and there's some other books that I'm like, I want to read these. Like we've talked about Dune a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
also Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The
Deep.
book
I want to
that
read that
inspired
too.
Blade Runner. I also just need to watch Blade Runner. But
Yeah, same.
it's funny because I've seen Blade Runner 2049. I've never seen the first one.
Hmm.
What else? There was something else I can't remember. Oh, of course, finished reading Game of Thrones. I read the first book. Haven't read anything after that. But I need to reread the first book and then read the rest of it. And I'm probably gonna hop into Percy Jackson at some point.
Ooh.
But yeah, I'm just like, now I got some books I want to read. Okay, let's see what else I got. Sandland and Stellar Blade demos for those games came out, but I'm gonna talk those
Mm.
in video game section. Community. I have 2 episodes left in the 6th season, and today's the last day to watch it on Netflix.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so yeah, I'm gonna finish that up. The last episode I watched, because I'm not gonna lie, season 6 has not been great, but
Oh.
the last episode was phenomenal. It was a paintball episode. If anybody
Hmm.
who watched Community, you know the paintball episodes are some of the best episodes in the entire show. It's real good. Still watching Shogun, and that show's still really fun. Almost finished with the last season of Batman the Animated Series.
Mm.
I have a couple episodes left in season 3 of Benton Alien Force, and after that I'll have one more season before Ultimate Alien.
Hmm.
But whether or not I watch Ultimate Alien is dependent upon, because like I said, I'm watching Blind Wave react to it at the same time. So it's
Right.
like, so if for some reason Ultimate Alien doesn't win the poll, I'm just not watching it until they watch it. So, and I'm just gonna go back to watching Batman Beyond. But I'm waiting. See, here's what I'm doing right now, right? I haven't watched
Hmm.
Superman or Batman Beyond, even though I've been wanting to, or Brave and the Bold, because I'm almost done with Batman Animated Series, and I'll be finished with the final season before they're finished with it. So
Right.
every Saturday I watch an episode myself, and then I watch the episode that they're on,
Hmm.
and it's fun to essentially be watching episodes twice, even though it's like weeks in between when I've seen that episode or months, and to just watch the episode again because I'm mad I spoiled myself one episode because I read the
No.
synopsis and the synopsis just ruined it, and I was like, God damn it, why did I read the synopsis? Ever since then I don't read the synopsis on these shows, specifically
Right.
the like shows in this animated DC universe. I'm like, they
Mm.
spoiled it. And I'm excited to watch them watch it because they of course their whole job is to react, so they don't read the synopsis. um,
Right.
so I'm excited to see their excitement because it's still a really good episode despite knowing the spoiler, and I know I'll enjoy it a lot more watching it with people who don't know the spoiler and are going to be surprised about things that happen, especially since it was a Clayface episode, and they're very invested in
Mm.
the Clayface storyline.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, I'm waiting because once I'm finished with Batman, I'll still be watching them watch it, and then I'm going to replace Batman with Batman Beyond. So every
Mm.
Saturday I'll watch an episode of Batman Beyond, an episode of Batman with them. So that'd be cool.
Hmm.
Oh, I think I'm actually going to go between that Superman and Brave and the Bold. And my hope
Ooh.
is that um, after Batman the Animated Series,
Hmm.
they will pit both Batman Beyond and Superman on the poll for the next show that they watch. That way, that's why I've been holding off because I was like, I want to wait until one of those wins so that I know that I
Right.
can watch it alongside them.
Right.
But yeah, Ninja Go movie, still watching that. There was a new episode, well, last Sunday. I didn't watch it, and there's another one today. I'm gonna watch both of those later. Um, they added some mechs and exosuits,
Ooh.
and I'm like, you just made the show even more up my alley. I was already really enjoying it. And last but not least, X-Men. I finished up first season. And I've just been running through the second season. This show's real fun. But also, I'm trying to get X-Men 97 because people don't know how not to spoil. And it's like, I can't be too
Right.
mad because I get it. But at the same time, it's like, please, I beg of you. I just want to open Twitter and not see Madeline Pryor everywhere. I didn't want to know she was in it. But now I know. And it's like, I damn near ruined my Twitter timeline because I did a thing where I clicked like show fewer posts on like people that I follow. So now people whose
Mm,
posts I enjoy to see, I just don't see as much anymore because I'm like, you guys
right.
keep spoiling the show. Stop it. Now my timeline sucks because I
Yeah.
have limited the amount of posts I see from you guys.
Right.
But moving on to animation. In the Blu-ray release of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, a major fight scene was extended, and it shows
Mm.
how great these shows could be if animators were given the proper time to get it done. They just, of their own volition, went back and decided to spruce it up, and it looks really good. And I really hope that the publicity that the treatment of Mappa workers has gotten will result in some real change in the animation industry. Like I
Mhm.
said, they're next to strike. Uh, the Bad Batch. It's been really good so far. Like I said before, similar to like the latter seasons or the later seasons of the Clone Wars, this season is focusing more on a continuous storyline with little to no filler, and that's to its benefit. I think that's when the Clone Wars cartoon was at its best, and the Bad Batch is just this final season has just been pretty consistently good so far.
Good.
Whereas the last two were like, but then it's been. I feel like because this is like a regular TV show schedule, it feels like it's been forever since last season, but it really hasn't.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's strange to watch a show that actually has a proper release schedule.
Right.
Speaking of which, Invincible. Um,
Mm.
I sent you a tweet
I
where
saw the tweet
they
and I
tra-
laughed.
they translated a joke about the shortcuts taken to produce comics that was in the comic to animation, and they did it really really well. And at the same time, we're directly talking to the haters who are always shitting on the animation and everything about the show, and just like this stuff takes hard work.
Yeah. I've also been kind of like absorbing Invincible through osmosis because my girlfriend watches it and like I'll sit in the room with her while she's watching it and just not look at the TV. And I don't have context for a lot of the things that are going on, but it's getting crazy from what I can tell.
Oh, it's so good, and you don't even know what's coming because I just moving directly into, well, actually before I get there, actually, episode 7 was really good. It was just all around great, and I'm really excited for the finale. They've been making a lot of great changes that enhance the story, and don't really
Mhm.
necessarily completely change it in some cases, or in most cases. Moving on to comics, I started to pick the Invincible comic back up. To an absolutely devastating part where Mark is just going through it. It's not good for him. Um, but yeah, Invincible is so good. There's so many twists and turns and surprises.
Mhm.
It's great. It's great. If you can stomach the violence, it's real good. It's real good. I love Invincible. It's easily one of my favorite comics. And but yeah, take my time and reading through it now. It's just make me appreciate it so much more.
It's real. It's real.
Wesley Dodds the Sandman. Uh, After
Mm.
being dosed with a deadly variant of his sleeping gas, Sandman uses his own gas on himself to save his life, forcing himself to go through the horrifying hallucinations he usually makes criminals go through, which kind of
Mm.
makes him change how he uses his gas, and he wants to use it a little less. Uh,
That's interesting.
yeah, Wonder Woman. I think this was issue either 4 or 5. I think it was 5. Wonder Woman is jumped by Villainy Inc., essentially her Sinister Six, and it's a good
Mm.
fight. The art by Daniel Sampier is real good. A
Ooh.
character that I hadn't seen in a long time, named Grail, who's the daughter of Darkseid, showed up and was throwing hands with Wonder Woman. It was great.
Oh wow.
Um, Amazon's attack. While under a hallucination, Nubia is taken hostage by Peacemaker. Meanwhile, the Wonder Girls are being controlled by some mysterious power, and Mary Marvel tries to hold them off. Um, Ultimate Spider-Man number 4. With the help of his daughter, Peter designs his spider suit into the classic look we're used to, and goes off to stop a fight between Green Goblin and Bullseye.
Mm.
Uh, Helen of Windhorn, Tom Kane, and I can never pronounce her first name. I think it's Billy Keys?
Hmm.
Bill Keys. I don't know. So I'm just going to use her last name of Evely. That's a much simpler name.
Yeah.
Tom King and Evely, the writer and artist respectively of Supergirl and Tomorrow, team up again. Um, for this great comic that I picked up when I went to go get my issue of Spider
Ooh.
Man Ultimate Spider Man issue 4. um,
Hmm.
Following the tragic death of her late father, C.K. Cole, the esteemed pulp writer and creator of the popular warrior character, Othin Helen Cole, is called back to her. There should be a comma there. Helen
Mm.
Cole is called back to her grandfather's enormous and illustrious estate, Windhorn House. Scarred by Cole's untimely passing and lost in a new, strange world, Helen wreaks drunken havoc. She's 16, by the way, despite the fact that she's drinking so much. Um,
Interesting.
However, her chaotic ways begin to soften as she discovers a lifetime of secrets hiding within the myriad rooms and hallways of the expansive manor. For outside its
Ooh,
walls, within the woods, dwell the legendary adventure that once were locked away within her father's stories. It's real good so far.
that sounds
The first
good.
issue really pulled me in, and I was just already excited when I saw that these two people who made this great comic that I love, and I'm excited to see turned into a movie soon, um, just come back together and work more. And it's enjoying it. So, I'm enjoying it so far. It's published by Dark Horse, whose apps suck.
Yeah.
I hate the Dark Horse app so much. Um, it's like the worst comic book app of them all.
No, for real.
I'll never get over the fact that they just won't let you view 2 page spreads in full. I'll never get over that.
Mm,
But
tragic.
where was I? Shift. So, um, stop making noises, tablet. Uh, Shift was a miniseries about the origins of one of Radiant Black's villains, leading up to issues 28 and 28.5.
Hmm.
In said issues of Radiant Black, the timelines where Nathan or Marshall took sole control of the Radiant diverge even further, with Marshall going on a rampage after failing to save someone close to him in his timeline, and Nathan still refusing help in his. And
Hmm.
I'm really curious to see where this goes and if like the timelines will converge because, excuse me, it feels like Marshall went on a rampage because he's the much more aggressive person, but Nathan is a much more kind of intelligent, and he's trying to work by himself, but he's getting help anyway. And at first, I was like, oh, Nathan's timeline is going to be so much worse because he's refusing help, while Marshall is, but Marshall's timeline is low-key ended up worse. So I'm like, this is interesting. I feel like there's going to be some time shenanigans where things change to where they both have to be Radiant Black and work together to actually
Ooh.
have a good ending. But we'll see. Um, Yesterday was it yesterday? Yep, yesterday was the 85th anniversary of Batman. Um,
Wow.
it's Batman's birthday, and DC
Happy
posted
birthday,
the
man.
first ever Batman comic in their IG story. And my friend Eric Hunter, friend of the show, who does the designs or the artwork for the podcast, he did one for the anniversary, the 3 year
Hmm.
anniversary, or was that 3 year? Yeah.
I think.
And the art that I use for myself, and the thumbnails and stuff. Um, and yeah, he does that as well with his comic. So I think DC should do this more often, posting comics in their story for people to read and be like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should hop on the app or buy this comic. But yeah, I'd never read the first Batman comic. It was interesting. It was interesting to see the style of art and that you could tell because it was like physically printed, like the things they had to do to make it work.
Hmm.
And as someone who's physically printed things, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Um, but yeah, it was cool to see. I hopped back into the question where Vic Sage stalks the streets of Hub City, trying to stop the outpour of crime that he blames himself for. Because, and I'm not quite certain, if the mayor's dead because he mistakenly started a fire, and that's because the city, that's why there's a lot more crime in the city, or
Hmm.
if the mayor was injured, because someone did die, but it wasn't the mayor.
Hmm.
I can't tell if the mayor's dead or not. I will probably find out in the next issue. But I also hop back into Mark Waid's Flash run, which is currently in the midst of a crossover with Green Lantern. This is the Flash
Ooh.
run from the '80s, the most iconic Flash run. It's so ridiculous because despite the popularity of comic book movies,
Hmm.
a lot of the most popular comic book characters just straight up have not been adapted, especially from DC, especially not properly. We finally got a Flash movie, but it was ass, and
Right.
because they keep pulling from the one Flash story, Flashpoint Paradox, which is just a reboot story that just rebooted the universe, and it's like you can't have the only Flash story you do be a reboot story. That doesn't make any sense. And like Wally, I can't go on this tangent today. I can't do this. Okay, because it makes me upset.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it anyway. Wally West was the Flash for 20 years, and then
Mhm.
they just made him go away for like 6. It was weird. It was really strange. And then he came back, and now he's the main Flash again, and it's great. But it was weird that he left in the first place, that they decided that he shouldn't be there when he was the Flash to so many people. It's so
Right.
strange. But moving on to TV and film. Monkey Man. Uh, there was a second trailer that caught my attention a lot more than the first one. A young man ekes out a meager living in an underground fight club where night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, he's beaten bloody by more popular fighters for cash. After years of
Mm.
suppressed rage, he discovers a way to infiltrate the enclave of the city's sinister elite. As his childhood trauma boils over, his mysteriously scarred hands unleash an explosive campaign of retribution to settle score with the men who took everything from him. This is Dev
Mm.
Patel's directorial debut. Um, and yeah, the second trailer interested me a lot more than the first one. A lot of people are describing it as like Indian John Wick,
Mhm.
and yeah, it looks like it'll be a fun action movie.
It
Um,
does look neat.
I'll probably check it out. I don't remember when it comes out. I should probably look that up. April 5th. That's like next
Ooh.
week.
It is
So I might go see it next week, or maybe the week after that.
nice.
I'll probably see it the Tuesday after that on discount
Mm.
day. Um,
Ooh.
but yeah, there was a trailer for a new Alien movie called Alien Romulus, directed by Fede
Ooh.
Alvarez, the director of Don't Breathe and Evil Dead 2013,
Mm.
and is releasing August 16th. Yeah, Alien is probably my favorite movie of all time. Um,
Yep.
and at the very least, it's my favorite horror movie of all time for sure. So it is great to see the franchise return to straight sci-fi horror rather than a lot of the more action-oriented or kind of just weird stuff they've been doing lately. Um,
Mm.
I still need to check out Evil Dead 2013, which this director directed. I meant to see it before I went to go see Evil Dead Rise, but I just couldn't find the time. But I have to
Mm.
watch it one of these days. Probably. I like to save horror movies for October, and it sucks because I love horror movies, and I wait all year just to watch it in 1 month. Like where is it?
Right.
Last October I just started watching Friday the 13th, and I was having a real good time. And then the
I
month
remember
ended,
that.
so I stopped watching it. But when it comes back around, I'm gonna watch more of those. I'm probably gonna watch some more of the Nightmare on Elm Street films because I watched the first two.
Ooh.
I think either last like the October before last. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna start going through all of the mini sequels to these popular horror franchises that I've just never seen. Like I haven't seen the vast majority of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies or Friday the 13th movies, and I've seen a lot of the Halloween movies, but there's still some of them I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Season of the Witch, the third one, which is when
Mhm.
they were trying to make it an anthology series and not just follow Michael Myers. So the third one has nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Right.
So yeah, I'll watch it eventually. Um, there was a trailer for the Star Wars show, The Acolyte.
Ooh.
This is probably my most anticipated Star Wars project in recent times. But honestly, the trailer didn't do much for me.
Mm.
What's keeping me excited is knowing that it's focused on Sith, which I've been wanting a story that focuses on Sith for a long time. It
Mhm.
takes place during the High Republic, which has only been relegated to comic books and novels recently, which is like this new era that they pushed like a couple of years ago. But outside of the comics and novels, which is a small portion of the Star Wars fandom, they haven't
Right.
done much with it. Recently, they brought some aspects of it into the last Star Wars Jedi Survivor game, and that was cool. But I still think they didn't even do enough with it there. But now they have a whole show coming out soon, live action show that takes
Ooh.
place during that time period where the Jedi were supposedly at the height of power, and the Sith were gone, or so they thought. And it's also very kung fu movie inspired. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm really interested in this. There's been a little controversy over the fact that uh, there is one writer in the writers' room that has never watched Star Wars, and
Interesting.
showrunner Leslie Hitland explains that she doesn't want herself, who's a lifelong fan, to just be relying on particular references in order to create emotional beats. She wants those emotional beats to be earned and checked by someone that isn't super familiar with it. If this was the whole writing team, I'd be upset, but one or two make sense.
Yeah.
Like Connor Brannigan on Twitter says, Andor was created by a team of people who either were barely familiar with Star Wars or hadn't been lifelong fans, and it's the best thing Star Wars has done with the franchise. The outside perspective is invaluable. This is flawless logic. And I think some of the outrage comes also, I say outrage, actually, surprisingly enough, not that many people were complaining about it.
Good.
Most people were like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But there's a little bit, just a little bit.
Right. Of
But
course. Of
most of it
course.
comes from the overlap. I think that a lot of it comes from the overlap between Star Wars and MCU fans, and
Mhm.
MCU fans are just so tired of people who've never picked up a comic book adapting those stories,
Right. Which makes sense.
and that kind of gets flows over into Star Wars as well, where it's like, why are people who don't like this thing working on this thing, and I get that. That's an understandable sentiment.
Yeah.
Because it definitely sucks what happens in comic books. But with this, it's one person in the writer's room full of several people.
Right.
And that experience, like you said, it is indeed invaluable. Uh, Halo is finished. And it might be
Mm.
finished for me forever because this season started so strong and then it got so bad so fast. I've
Aw,
never been
man.
so disappointed in my life. Yes, I have. But still, um, it's just I was really hoping that they were gonna turn it around. The trailer was so good, they got me hype, and then the beginning was the first like 3-4 episodes leading up to the Fall of Reach. The Fall of Reach episode was a little bit disappointing, but it wasn't that bad. But everything leading up to the Fall of Reach was dope, and all the
Mm.
trauma. And people think Master Chief was going crazy and he was lying. And I was just like, nah, this is dope. And then it all just fell apart the moment it stopped and it got real slow. And they once again started focusing on characters I do not give a damn about. And I was just like, dude, I'm here to watch the Halo show to follow Master Chief. Master Chief is the main character. I don't care about all these other people. If they're not a Spartan or a member of the UNSC, I don't care. Okay? Stop having these random people that I don't care about on screen. Because like I might be completely done with the show. Who knows? Maybe the season 3 check because they're finally actually on the titular Halo. So maybe
Mhm.
the trailer for season 3 will pull me in again. But I don't know, man. That's even if it gets renewed because I don't know how well it's done or not. Because I barely heard people talk about it. So maybe the second season has done as well as the first one. So disappointing.
Yeah.
This episode gonna be short as hell. I don't got a lot to talk about. We might have to find something to vamp about at some point, but because we're moving right into video games.
No, for real.
Actually, no, we got something that might give us a good 15 minutes to talk about. So this episode might end up being a little less than an hour. Moving on to video games. Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra. We finally get a look at the Captain America and Black Panther game that was teased a long time ago.
Ooh.
Written and produced by Amy Hennig, creative director of my favorite game of all time, Uncharted 2.
Mm.
Inspired by the 2010 comic book. What is it called? I'm sorry, let me reread that. Inspired by the 2010 comic book limited series, Captain America / Black Panther, Flags of Our Fathers, the story is set in occupied Paris during World War II and involves
Mm.
American super soldiers, Steve Rogers, forming an uneasy alliance with Azuri, the king of Wakanda, the grandfather of T'Challa, who
Mhm.
operates as the Black Panther, as they attempt to prevent the rise of the organization Hydra. It is coming
Mm.
out next year in 2025. Kari Payton is voicing Endor Mocap Black Panther, most famously known for Cyborg in the 2003 uh, Teen Titans cartoon.
Mhm.
And I saw his face immediately, and I was like, "That's Kari Payton." and then I heard his. I think I heard the voice, and I was like, "That sounds like Kari Payton," but it's not Kari Payton, is it? And then I saw his face. I was like, "Nope, that's him." And so this was done at like an Unreal Engine event, so it was there mostly to show off the graphical capabilities of the engine. So there wasn't like any gameplay. But the
Mm.
game comes out next year, so hopefully we're probably going to get that in the summer with all the different game showcases.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's being done by Amy Hennig, who works on Uncharted. And it's being done by a new studio she's hitting. I think it's a Skydance studio, Skydance Games. So, or it might not be new. It might have just been like revamped. I'm pretty sure at some point it had a different name, the studio. but maybe it was like folded into Skybound Games, because I'm pretty sure not Skybound. Skybound is the company owned by Robert Kirkman, the creator of Invincible and The Walking Dead, and is the
Oh,
company that produces the Walking Dead games by Telltale. That is a
right.
completely different company. But Skydance is what I meant to say. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's good. I was trying to say before I distracted my mind that I hope it's a very story focused, like kind of, I'm thinking the combat will probably be something like an Arkham game, if I'm being honest. There was a Captain America game
Yeah.
a long time ago that was like that was actually kind of cool. And if the combat's anything like that, it'll be fun. And honestly, kind of weirdly enough, the way the scenes are shot, the way they look so grounded in like it's an actual film, it reminds me of The Order 1987, or was it 86? I can't remember. Have you
Hmm.
heard of that game? It
I
was
have.
it was like one of the it went I don't know if it was a launch game, but it was like one of the first games released on PS4, and it
Right.
is such an underrated masterpiece. People didn't like it because of how short it was, in combination with some of the mechanics being a little bare bones, but like it was such a good, short, sweet experience, and it felt like a tech demo basically, because it is to this day one of the prettiest games to release on PS4, despite the fact that it was one of the first games to release on PS4.
Wow.
It looks incredible, and I so wish that we got a sequel, because the world of that game is so cool. It takes place in like what, late 1800s Europe, with this secret organization that are like have like members that are named after Knights of the Round. The main character named is
Ooh,
Galahad, and they like fight literally like vampires and werewolves.
that is neat.
But the vampires and werewolves in this universe are very cool. Where I think werewolves are a regular thing, but
Hmm.
vampires are kind of like they're just discovering that they exist
Oh
in
wow.
this story, and they like go to this place where it turns out like there has been like a handful of them in the world. I think at the time of the game, but there are like hundreds of them that are in caskets in like this factory that they're planning on waking back up, and it's so cool.
Mm.
And the yeah, it was so fun, and there were a lot of really cool weapons in it, and I just it deserves a sequel. If it was up to me, we'd be getting like a new one of those. But yeah, this the way the way they film, I guess, which is a weird word to say when it comes to a video game. But they're
Yeah.
trying to mimic filmmaking in the way that they do cutscenes and stuff. The way
Right.
the
Makes
way
sense.
that they do that reminds me of that game. So in my
Mm.
mind, when I'm imagining the gameplay, I kind of imagine the gameplay from that game, which was a mix of like third person shooting and a little bit of like melee. And I'm
Hmm.
imagining the way the melee works in that. There was another game similar to it that came out on Xbox called Rise Son of Rome that it also reminds me of, which I don't know why both Xbox and PlayStation during that generation released these games that were kind of bare bones and shorter experiences. Like I said, they were basically tech demos. They released these games that were made to essentially show off the power of their consoles, and not necessarily and be like these super fleshed out games. And instead, they were kind of just more like cinematic, story driven games. Like you still control it, and there was still action, but it was very cinematic. But they were fun, and I would like more games like that.
Yeah.
Xbox does have Hellblade. That does
Hmm.
something very similar to Rise of Rome, but PlayStation doesn't have that. They need to bring that back.
They do. They do.
But moving on to Marvel Rivals. On Tuesday, May 26th. This is a historical event. Okay,
Mm.
Marvel Games announced that they were premiering a new game developed by NetEase at 11 a.m. EST on Wednesday, the following day. And then it promptly leaked that it
Oh.
was an Overwatch 6v6
Oh
third person
yeah.
shooter. And an hour before the trailer went up, screenshots from the game's menu and key art was leaked. And it's like, dog, leakers are so wild for doing this only a day away from an official announcement. It's like, if it was
Oh,
like
for
a
real.
month beforehand, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But it's like, it's like with GTA 6 when they leaked the trailer like 6 hours before it came out. It's like, dude,
Right.
you just had to wait a little bit. What was your purpose? But yeah, I sent you a trailer.
You did.
It
I
looks
watched it.
good. It looks fun.
It does look good.
Let me tell you something. This is wild. I swear I'm magic. I've been wanting a game like this for years. I literally spent on Monday, the day before it was leaked, I spent
Mm.
like 30 minutes, no joke, I'm not lying, walking. I do this often. I walk in the living room, put my headphones on, listen to music, and just think about things. And I just walk in a circle. And I was just thinking about what a game like this could look like. And then the next day they announced it. I have superpowers, okay? Um, but yeah, my notes are confusing me. Hold on, give me a second.
Take your time.
but but yeah, the roster will feature Bruce Banner, um, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Groot, Iron Man, Loki, Luna Snow, Magic, Magneto, Mantis, Namor, Penny Parker, Punisher, Rocky Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Spider Man, Storm, and Star Lord. Um, there are a lot of X Men characters,
Mm.
but I'm waiting for Cyclops because I'm 100% adding
Mm.
Cyclops whenever he's added.
Right,
For me,
right.
my top three that I want for DLC are Cyclops,
Mm.
Blade, and Hawkeye.
Mm.
I have an idea for Blade, right? A lot of people don't
Mm.
notice because of Wesley Snipes' portrayal of him in the 90s, but Blade is actually British.
Mm.
He was born in Britain in like the early 1900s. And he
Interesting.
comes to New York at some point, but he should have a British accent. And with that, I say, let Idris Elba voice Blade for this game,
Right.
and have him just not even be himself. Literally, the personality that Idris Elba naturally has is who Blade is. He just needs to do his regular accent and just be himself and play Blade. He would be perfect.
Mm.
Because people don't know that he's British because he was just played by a Black American man in the 90s. So
Right.
every adaptation has him be American, but no, he should be British in some iterations. Um,
Mhm.
but the website describes the story as the merciless clash between tyrannical dictator Doctor Doom and his future counterpart from the year 2099 has forced countless universes to collide. In the time stream entanglement, creating new worlds and crises unknown, now superheroes and villains from across the multiverse must fight together and against one another. As disparate groups, each seek to best both dooms before one achieves domination of these realities. Familiar faces become newfound foes, while former enemies become the greatest of allies and Marvel rivals. Uh, it looks fun.
It does.
It's third person, unlike Overwatch, which I think makes sense that it would be third person. I think these characters work much better in third person than in first person because I immediately think because I want Cyclops so bad. It's like how would a character who shoots lasers out his eyes work in first
Right.
person
First
view?
person.
Would
It
his
would look silly.
would everything just be red all the time? Because
I think
that's
so.
like literally how he sees. But I honestly would hate that. So yeah, I think it's better in third person for a lot of these characters. Um, so when I first saw that NetEase was working on it, I was a little concerned because I went and looked at their portfolio, and they mostly work on mobile games, including
Mm.
two Marvel mobile games. But then I saw that they worked on Naraka Blade Point, which was a hack and slash battle royale game that came out a few years ago.
Mm.
That was pretty cool back when it came out. So it gave me a little bit of hope that this was the right team, and the trailer I think proved that. Because they have experience working on games that are built to last a long time, and they've made multiplayer character action games before. So I'm real excited for this. Um, but yeah, as I mentioned, the character select screen leaked a few hours before the reveal, and the character
Mm.
designs low key they look AI generated, but the key art looks very clearly like it was drawn by a person. So
Mm.
hopefully the character designs weren't made using AI because if the big comic book companies start using AI, then the future's bleak. But the costume designs they definitely have an AI feel, but also they have the type of feel that games like this just have. A lot of other games that have done stuff like this also have a similar art style, so I think they're kind of just mimicking that. I hope there's no AI
Mm.
involved, unless it's like other than to, AI can seem all bad when you think about it, but there are uses of AI in gaming that could be very useful.
Right.
Like
It's just
people,
as of right now,
yeah,
it's really unethical.
yeah, like you shouldn't be used for concept art by any means, um, or like just designing characters at all. But like Spider Verse used it to outline the characters with the black outlines that they used to help stylize it because it was tedious to do it by hand all the time. So they had
Which makes sense.
and I do it for them, which is like that's a very small task that doesn't ruin anyone's life. um, but yeah, beta is happening in May, and you can sign up for it now, which I did,
Ooh.
despite the fact that it's PC only. I low key
Mm.
might go over to one of my friends' house and be like, "Dog, I got this beta code. We need to play this."
Right.
I low key might get a PC just for this. No, I'm probably just gonna wait for it to come out on console.
I was
But
gonna say that would be insane.
I plan on getting a PC eventually. But I'm like, maybe this is what's gonna push me over the edge. Maybe this
Mm.
is what's gonna get me to finally get a PC. But yeah, it looks real good. What did you think of
I thought it looked really neat. I've never really been a like an Overwatch style gameplay kind of person. Like first person shooters just not really interesting. Words interested me, but I might check this out. I might join the beta just for the kicks and giggles.
yeah? Um, Final Fantasy 16 Rising Tide. There was another trailer, and it looks good. My only problem is I hope it's short and sweet as it should be as a DLC. Because if it's too long,
Hmm.
it runs the potential of being even more tedious than the main game. Because Final Fantasy 16 is a good game, but because it had no mini games, and
Hmm.
because they were going for more serious, because they were going for more serious tone, is why I didn't have any mini games. And you can only play as Clive, um, and because of that, the gameplay loop got tiresome after like 2/3 of the way through.
Hmm.
Um, they tried to like mix it up by adding new iconic abilities, and the boss fights, the mechanics for the boss fights would change drastically. Like sometimes it would turn into like an on rail shooter, which was really cool. But for the most part, it's very monotonous and like one note.
Hmm.
You just ran around and fought, and that was it. And that got kind of boring after a while.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. Based on what they did with the boss fights, where they managed to make them a lot more fun and exciting, and those were the things that really broke up the monotony of the gameplay. If they were to find a way to make that more of a regular thing, if they this specific studio, which is the studio that worked on Final Fantasy 14, the MMORPG one, Final Fantasy game,
Hmm. Right.
if they make another Final Fantasy like mainline Final Fantasy game that's single player and action oriented like this, I would hope that they find a way to have mini games that works with the story without like being kind of immersion breaking. And
Right.
also, another thing that I think would have made it a lot less monotonous is having a being able to play as other party members, because with
Mm.
Clive, the way they kind of emulate that system is giving you the abilities of different of summons, instead of having you switch between the actual individual characters that are with you. I would have liked to actually switch to the characters and play as them and have them play completely different from Clive. Because if I'm playing as a bunch of characters that play completely different and have to upgrade them, then it's going to be a lot more fun and a lot more interesting than playing the same character over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like I said, still a good game. Those are just some of the little gripes that I have with it that I think could make a potential not sequel, but another game like it better. Because Final Fantasy
Yeah.
doesn't often do sequels,
Yeah.
and the way this game ended, there's no sequel. It's honestly, I'm the DLC makes no sense because he kind of died at the end.
Hmm.
But it's like,
Interesting.
we don't know if he's dead.
Okay.
He just disappeared. So maybe I don't know when this takes place. If it's like another situation with the previous DLC that they did, which was really short, which was kind of expanding on a
Hmm.
little small part of the game where it takes place right before the very end.
Hmm.
Does this one also take place right before the very end, but
Probably.
somehow has no bearing on the main story? I don't know. Or is it like alternate universe type stuff? Who knows?
They'll find a way to explain it.
Wait, I'll put a
Square Enix will
spoiler
totally
tag
figure
there
it
for
out.
anybody who cared about that spoiler.
Right.
Because I just said it like willy nilly, like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the game came out like a year ago. No, that's not a good excuse. But
No excuse. Yeah.
um, Sandland, right?
Hmm.
I played the demo of Sandland, and it was real fun. The game is based off a manga of the same name by Akira Toriyama, and
Ooh.
it combines character action with a vehicle and mech combat in an
Ooh.
open world desert, and it was real. It was a good time. The first night I played it, I think I played it Friday, and it was just night, and I was tired, and I was like, I just got to play it so I could talk about it on the podcast. But then I played it yesterday, and
Hmm.
I was having a lot of friends just running around, motorcycles, shooting dinosaurs, and yeah, it was real fun. And honestly, I'm really excited to see like how different the mechs and vehicles can be when you customize them, and what other ones you can unlock. Because after using the ones I had for a while, I was like, I want different weapons. But yeah, it was hard to really gauge what could be done in the demo because it was so boxed off. So so obviously this is the core gameplay loop, but what else is there? I'm curious. I have been watching videos about it, but I'm still not completely sure what the full gameplay loop is going to be like. But we'll have to wait and see when the game comes out pretty soon. Yeah. Let me look up exactly when. April 25th, so the end of next month.
Oh wow.
Well, we're recording this on the last day of the month, but when this comes out, it'll be like the beginning of the month. Stellar Blade demo. I didn't like it.
Oh.
I checked out part of the demo, and then I kind of was just like, I don't know if it was just because it was middle of the night. Maybe I'll play it later and like see if I can finish it up. But I just wasn't having a good time. The combat just doesn't feel very good to me, and the story doesn't really catch my interest so far. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll watch reviews when the game actually comes out pretty soon. Let me also look up the date for that. I just haven't been writing out dates for when things come out. A day after Sandland. April 26th. Other than the sexy main character, it doesn't interest me very much. People have been going crazy over that stuff, bro. It's just like, y'all gotta like, it's a case of some people need to calm down. It's not that serious. Okay, the character looks sexy. Whereas other people are like, okay, calm down, stop being horny. It's like two sides to it because the internet is a place of extremes.
Right.
Whereas either people being too outraged about it or people being too horny about it.
Yeah, it's like, y'all, it's not that serious.
Like characters like this only become a problem when you make it a big deal. It's not that serious to have a sexy character every now and again. It's really not. As long as it's not like the only type of
egregious
woman in video games like it used to be. Which it's not nowadays, so it's like a lot more like, okay, we can have one every now and again.
Yeah, like one of the best selling JRPGs of all time, Nier Automata, has a sexy main character. But that's not her only character trait.
Yeah, like people and people immediately pointed out like how people was like getting upset about the fact that when she's climbing a ladder, like her ass has jiggle physics, and then people immediately started posting a bunch of videos from back when Nier first came out where it's just 2B walking and you just see her ass and it's just like, yeah, that
you can explode her clothes off in the game. Like, come on, let's be serious.
It's like,
let's be real.
That's not the. There's another game that people enjoy and sing the praises of all the time that does the exact same things. Let's give this one a shot as well, okay?
Right.
They knew what they were doing to make the character look like this. They did it to get the dollars. And to be honest, it's a winning strategy.
It is.
I don't blame
y'all
them.
bought up Nier, like.
But also the people making this game, Shift Up, have like openly said 1,000 times, yeah, we took huge inspiration from Nier because we love that game.
Right.
So it's like,
I just hope that also means story-wise and beyond just having a sexy.
Yeah, hopefully the story's better. Like I said, just playing it, I just wasn't having a good time. I don't know if I don't know if it was something about that day. I just wasn't feeling it. Maybe that changed. Maybe it won't. As of now, I think it's a PlayStation exclusive. Literally, one of the top Google searches is it a PlayStation exclusive? But yeah, it'll come out on PC eventually.
Yeah.
Still playing Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Playing a little slower. Haven't been playing it every night like I used to. Gongaga sucks. It is the worst level in the game by far. It's a maze of a jungle that is not fun to explore whatsoever. It's pretty. It has nice little Lion King African music playing in the background. Again, why did Zach grow up in Africa? But the map, it sucks. It's just, I hate it. I had to keep looking up YouTube tutorials. Like, where's this thing? I can't find it. There's a lot of unnecessary elevation. The best maps in the game are the flat ones. Because elevation in this game ruins it. Because like I said before, the climbing's super slow. It sucks. So what they give you are these mushrooms that the chocobo can jump off of, and they send you up high in the air. And the mushrooms are basically like puzzles. And I'm like, dog, when I'm exploring an open world game, you know what I'm not trying to do? Solve a puzzle. Right. I'm just trying to get from one destination to the other.
the
not
other.
solve a puzzle. I just want to go somewhere. It was very annoying. But then I got to the Cosmo Canyon section. I was like, oh, thank God the game's fun again. Because I was getting so upset. And I was like, okay, this is one of those things that people that were kind of subtly complaining about back when reviews came out before the game actually came out.
Mm.
But yeah, I realized I haven't seen anything that about the discourse about people talking about this game online because I have it muted.
Right.
Are people even talking about it? I don't know.
From what I can tell, no.
It's doing
Like the
well.
yellow paint, yeah, the yellow paint discourse has died out.
I
Like
think
people don't
everybody
care
is
anymore.
just too busy playing it
Yeah.
because it is a really good game. I think I'm close to the end. There's probably like two more sections. Like there's probably one more open world section, and then another like probably linear story section, and then or maybe the last section is an open world section. I'm not sure, but
Hmm.
I know after this, after Cosmo Can, I got to go to Nibelheim, which is the home of Tifa and Cloud.
Right.
And then after that is essentially the last section of the game, and I'm not sure if it'll be another open world area or if it'll just be a super linear section. I just
Mm.
want to fight Sephiroth again because I want to hear that goddamn theme song. It's so good.
One Wing
The
Angel is great.
the version from the remake is called One Winged Angel Rebirth, and it is
Mm.
9 minutes long, and I listen to the whole
Oh.
thing all the time. It's so long, and it starts differently than the original.
Mm.
It's so good. You should listen to the Rebirth version of that song. It's really good.
I just might.
Um,
If I haven't heard it already and I'm just forgetting about it.
but yeah, we did reach the 51-hour mark, so that's good. I didn't have a lot.
Hey.
We didn't have too much to talk about. Um, we would have talked about Avatar if I cared to watch it.
Right.
And
Same.
I'll probably
Oh.
try and watch an episode before. Like I said, I'm going to do it. It's just I'm not in a rush
Right.
at
There's better
all.
things to watch.
I'm too busy watching X Men, and I'm having a good time. The last episode actually was the Alpha Flight episode where
Ooh.
X Men goes back to Canada, and his friends and his old team try to kidnap him, and it was real good. And it's so funny. They've done this several times where Jean will be on Cerebro, and she'll sense that someone's in trouble, and Cyclops is, Jean, are you okay? What's happening? And then she's like, Wolverine's in trouble, and Cyclops is like, can you pinpoint him? Do you know where he is? And she goes, nah, son, we just gotta let go and let God. I can't find this man.
Uh,
And
uh,
I'm just like, what was the point of that? In my mind, I'm like, was it just so that the voice actors got paid for that episode? Because they just didn't need to be here. You could have just kept the episode on Wolverine for all of that. You didn't need to cut to the X-Men in the mansion and them just going, well, Wolverine is just gonna have to fend for himself. Like, what was
it's
the
like
point
we're
of
in
that?
trouble. I'm like, aren't we gonna do something about that?
Yeah, Cyrus is like, and in the background, just Storm is just like, I guess we just gonna have to figure it out.
Damn, that's crazy.
Exactly. Everybody's like, damn, that's crazy. And they just go back about their day like they didn't just find out their friend might die.
Insanity.
And I think the episode before that, Wolverine was hunting down Morph, and I was like, this is also. I underestimated Morph. I'm not gonna lie. When Morph first showed
Mhm.
up, I was like, this man, all he can do is just turn into people. What are you gonna do with that? And then he turned into Sabretooth and beat Wolverine's ass. And I was like, oh, that's what he can do.
Oh.
Okay, and he could turn into
Yeah.
animals, so he's like a better Beast Boy. Okay, never mind.
Mhm.
He's great. Morph is great. He can do a lot more than I thought he could with those powers.
Yep.
I didn't realize he could shapeshift into like stuff like that. I was like, okay, he's cool. He turned into a wolf, and I was like, all right, I like Morph now.
You're cool in my book.
But yeah, and I looked up like, can Mystique do that as well? Because I'd never seen her turn into an animal, but apparently she can,
I don't.
which makes sense.
She can.
Yes,
Interesting.
she doesn't really do it often, but I guess she
Hmm.
does. Um, I also learned that Mystique is Rogue's adopted mother, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I always knew Rogue started off as a villain, and that she stole Captain Marvel's powers, and that's her claim to fame.
Hmm.
And that's why in the show her she has super strength and can fly, because in the comic she stole Captain Marvel's powers, and
Right.
her powers is that she has super strength and can fly.
Right.
So yeah, that's interesting. Which basically means that her and um Nightcrawler are siblings, technically step siblings,
Hmm. Yeah.
but that is never brought up in the comics. But it is brought up in the X-Men Evolution show. It is a
Mm.
big story arc that people have been posting about on Twitter about how it's like the only place where it's acknowledged that they're technically step siblings. And yo, I swear to God, the clip is so funny. I gotta send it to you. So Mystique is like frozen in stone because somebody like essentially mess with her powers to make her transform into stone, and now she's stuck like that. And like Nightcrawler is asking her like, "Hey, use your powers on her, absorb some of her power, and she'll like essentially be shocked out of it and like be able to control her powers again and turn back to a normal person." But instead, she pushes the statue off a cliff, and Mystique breaks into like 1,000 pieces, and it's so funny. Oh my
Gotta do
god,
what you
it's
gotta
so
do.
funny. I was like, hey, yo, that's crazy. Also, they retconned Nightcrawler's origin in the comics recently, not too long ago, where before he was the son of both Mystique and another mutant named Zazel. I don't know if he's a
Right.
mutant or he's a demon. He essentially looks like Nightcrawler but red.
Right.
But that was retconned that instead, when Mystique transforms into a man, she actually can make children. So instead, he's he's the son of Mystique and Destiny. Destiny being a woman, Mystique turned into a dude, impregnated her, and then Destiny had Nightcrawler.
Crazy, by the way.
It's very wild. That's insanity.
Yeah.
But it's cool, you know. Good old comic books. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
You got anything?
Oh, we got a release date for the Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remake
Ah,
that comes out. I just had it pulled up. Lost it. May 23rd,
okay.
which I'm really excited for. I haven't put it in my pre-order yet, but I'm definitely going to. And also, Princess Peach Showtime
Yeah, that
came
did come
out.
out.
Yeah, and I've been hearing pretty good
Yeah,
things
I
about it.
watched like half of a review.
Right.
I got halfway
Just a
through the
little bit of
review.
gameplay.
I got like halfway through the review. I was like, oh, cool, good game, and then I moved on because I'm not gonna play
Yeah.
it. But you know, I was interested
Yeah,
to
me
know how
neither.
it was doing.
Right.
But yeah, that's all
Yeah.
we got. You know, you can find my my ats below me. You can find
Mm.
Aiara's at below them, the Muskets at below that. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click notification bells so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
See ya.